Hi guys. So we are in transit 23. So this gene key goes from the shadow of complexity to the gift of simplicity and the city of quintessence. And we're already in the third line, and that is because I am still in Scotland with other gene key ambassadors. And I really felt like I wanted to do the video tonight because my intention with those videos is that they're here to accompany us into a new transit, right? And I'm gonna speak with a bit of a lower voice because Nejma is sleeping downstairs already. She's going back home early tomorrow morning. And I could really feel a couple of days ago when we were changing from the second gene key to the 23rd, I became aware of, I suddenly felt like a lot of things were coming through during the week with all the exercises we were doing, with all the sharing. And I became really aware of, like, when I felt like I knew something and how, then, one thing is to know it and how do we share it so that it's received. And this really became very strong for me to be like, even feeling a bit of anxiety of like, how can I share this so that it's received? And as the fourth line in my life's work, in my evolution, it's the only thing that really matters for me is like, how can how can I get across my truth, right? And this is really the dilemma of the 23. It comes from the individual circuitry, and it's very spontaneous. So sometimes when we have like a spontaneous insight and share it, the timing might not be right, the people around us might not be right, and also the way that it comes out might not be clear. So when that happens, if we don't, it's like it's to speak but to not be received. So when we look at the name of this gene key or gate or hexagram, the original name was splitting apart. Actually, that creates a separation between us and the person or the people that we're trying to communicate with. And that, when that's the result of the 23, it creates a lot of frustration and really to not be included. That's the shadow. And when we look at the 23 together with the 43, which is the channel from the throat to the ajna, it's called the channel structuring, but it's also called the genius or the freak. So when we express in this way, when it can't be received and we don't have the timing, then we are considered a freak. And if we would wait, and if we would like tune into it, and maybe even wait until we are invited to share, then with the right circumstances, then we could be considered genius. And the insights that come from this gate and this channel are really, insights about something new. I think it's Karen Curry that makes the example of a mountain, and then a piece falls off. Like, what you see behind is completely new. So in the shadow frequency, we have the repressive pattern of being dumb, it's called, but it's really more about not being able to even express. It's kind of having maybe that fear of not being understood, and then it kind of chokes in the throat, and we're not able to express. So we seem to be dumb. And the reactive pattern is more like being so eager to share, so that it's very fragmented, and then people can get it and people can understand. So when, like, the shift from the shadow frequency to the gift frequency is a lot about, like I said, that timing and the environment is there. And also it's about taking, like, it's about keeping the essential. So it's about simplifying. And you could say that it's about taking away clutter, so what we are left with when we share it is just like that simple part, and condensing it many times. And it actually doesn't mean that we leave anything out. It just means that it's actually what really matters that we are able to share. And also in the gift frequency, it comes out in a way that is is new, that is playful. There's a lot of humor in it because it is so it's the individual circuitry. So it comes out as creative, as something new. Um, and it's a lot about learning. And if we have children, for example, the 23rd gate is about when they have this spontaneous knowing, to like for them to kind of train to speak about our knowing, our thinking, and starting to explain and really actually play with that. How do I express in order to be received? Because it's really ultimately in human design we speak about it. It's to assure our inclusion in the tribe, because as a human being, to be excluded from the tribe and to not be understood, that's the end. um, and when we go even higher in frequency, we're already touched upon it, but we are the quintessence. When we look it up, let's see where I had it. No, it's not here. So a refined essence of the substance. And it's kind of that thing, extracting gold, the quintessence, what's left. And again, so when we look, this is kind of interesting. When we look at the geometry of the hexagram, we have 5 broken lines, and then at the top we have a closed line. And I kind of, what came up for me spontaneously, it's that, the receptive that we spoke about last week, the 6 open lines, is about trust and flow, right? And in this case, we have that closed line on the top. And it's kind of the mind that comes in and that thinks and that makes things complex. And what we want to do is to tune into that trust and that flow and that inner knowing that is in those lines underneath, and that make sure that the head on the top doesn't make it more complex than it have to be. And it also kind of tunes into the mystical way, which is, it's called, we also say the middle way. We are not extreme in any side. So it's not about taking the super scientific left brain way, and it's not about maybe becoming the super poet, the super right left, the super right brained way. And it's not about following a teacher or, so it's really about the inner guidance that actually most of the Gene Key speaks about, especially when we have the individual circuitries tuning into the inner knowing. And that is actually the ultimate simplification of things. Because let's take, for example, diet as an example. If we start to take in all the information that's out there, reading all the books on different ways of doing it, it becomes very complex. And it can be it's very easy to get lost in all that information that is expressed in different way. And then we take in it and we're supposed to assimilate it. So if we just go back to our inner knowing, our intuition, all these open feminine lines, and we tune into what we actually know, and we surrender to that inner knowing, that is the middle way, that is the inner way. And the 23 is kind of, it's asking us to have that courage to tune inwards, and to have a little bit of patience, I would say, to find the right timing and the right way and the right environment to share, and even sometimes to actually wait to be invited to share. And in the meantime, there's so much richness in tuning inwards, and always tuning inwards for that essence, and finding what matters, right? And it's not only, I would say, it's not only with others, it's also with ourselves when we have those insights. To be able, there's a kind of discernment with that, to filter out a clutter and stay with essence. And Richard has been speaking about this week, even with me. I share a lot, And it's also important to be able to condense it, and to be precise, and to be clear about what we share. And that is really an art. It's not really not the more the better. And I've always liked this expression that, the ultimate sophistication is simplicity, right? So yeah, that's my contemplation this week on 23. Thanks, guys.